Hey ladies and gentlemen, Christoph the Polish Geek, and welcome to... We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm a huge fan of Assassin's Creed franchise. I know, this franchise has practically become a punching bag to gamers, but I love my Assassin's Creed, and of course I love the Ezio trilogy, and my favorite is Unity. Yeah, I cannot lie to myself. I know, Unity, it's a very unpopular opinion, but I just can't lie to myself. Unity is my personal favorite, and I'm totally planning on giving it an in-depth review someday. Because yes, Unity is my personal favorite. And as for the RPG titles, I always loved them actually. Like, I didn't mind the change in the gameplay styles. So yeah, I was always one of those guys that always defended the RPG titles. I loved Origins and I loved Odyssey even more. Wasn't a huge fan of Valhalla. I really wanted to like it because I love Vikings and the Viking world was so immersive. But sadly, Eivor was such a bland protagonist, and as a result, wasn't a huge fan of Valhalla because of that. And Assassin's Creed Mirage was supposed to be a return to the series' roots. And even though, as I said, I was one of the guys that defended the RPG titles, I still thought it was a great idea to bring back the franchise to its roots. After all, that's how the franchise started. So, how is Assassin's Creed Mirage? The story of Assassin's Creed Mirage is a pretty generic Assassin's Creed story, if I'm being honest. It's by no means a bad story. It's actually a pretty interesting story, and I did care for Basim and his journey. That said, if you compare Basim's story to the story of Ezio Auditore, whose story was still probably the best one in the history of the franchise, or Arnaud in Unity, whose story was pretty divisive, but I was always on the positive side of it, or RPG protagonists like Bayek or especially Cassandra, then yeah, Basim's story is very basic and predictable. The story is that Basim lives as a thief on the streets of Anbar, and then when he attempts to steal an artifact, things go very wrong for him. And then a big event happens and he gets recruited into an assassin order by Roshan. And afterwards, he learns more about the creed and ways of the assassins, and he assassinates various targets of the Order of the Ancients, who are pretty clear meant to be Proto-Templars. One of the things I do like here, for example, is that most of those targets are not sympathetic. And you actually kind of take pleasure in taking them out, because, yeah, here most of them tend to be pretty evil, kind of like in Assassin's Creed 2 or in Assassin's Creed Unity. But yes, this is very much pretty basic Assassin's Creed story. But that's not necessarily a bad thing though. Considering this game is just a return to basics, I think it was smart to just play it safe in this case. Considering we didn't have an Assassin's Creed game in a long time, and we didn't have an old school Assassin's Creed game in a very long time, I think trying to experiment with the story could get a little confusing. So I think it was a smart move to just play it safe in this case. And the game is very tied to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, since this is where Basim made his first appearance. I had no problems with that. I liked Basim in Valhalla, so it was nice to learn a lot more of him. And do I like Basim as a protagonist? I have to say he's somewhere in the middle. He's certainly nowhere near as awesome as Ezio or Edward Kenway or Cassandra or Arnaud, but he's certainly much better than Eivor or Connor. So, just like the game, I think that Basim is somewhere in the middle when it comes to Assassin's Creed protagonists. He's pretty cool, but nowhere near one of the best ones, but very far from the worst ones. Kind of like the game itself. Middle Eastern setting is so immersive. I like how you can, for example, play an Arabic mode in this game. I stuck with an English one, but it's nice to have this option. City of Baghdad is so beautiful. and I love the architecture of this city. One of my favorite things about Assassin's Creed games in general has always been how they were able to so beautifully recreate real-life historical cities and bring them to life in so much detail. When I played Assassin's Creed Unity, I used my real-life knowledge of city of Paris to move around. I never been to Baghdad, so I wasn't quite able to do it here in this game, but still, the creation of Baghdad is simply beautiful, magnificent, and immersive. And the desert around the city is also beautiful and immersive. I do sometimes tend to just walk around and just enjoy the beautiful desert scenery, landscapes, and the golden sand dunes. And besides Baghdad and the desert around it, there are also some small villages around Baghdad, like a village of Jaharaya, for example. I really love exploring the village and seeing various farming fields as well as houses of farmers, and also there are some palms in the background. So yes, when it comes to the graphics and landscapes, this game is simply beautiful when it comes to landscapes and scenery. The open world is obviously much smaller than it was in the last three Assassin's Creed games, because Assassin's Creed Odyssey was practically whole ancient Greece recreated into a video game, while Assassin's Creed Origins was ancient Egypt and Valhalla was the Norse continent. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because we already had a gigantic world in the last three RPG Assassin's Creed games, so now simply having a much smaller world worked in the game's favor, because we can practically say the world was like a medium-sized province in either Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Assassin's Creed Origins, and that wasn't a bad thing at all. Considering how gigantic last Assassin's Creed games were, it was a relief now that they gave us a much smaller one. There still are some very interesting secrets to find, riddles to solve, so yeah, even though it's so tiny compared to the last three Assassin's Creed games, it still felt like a pretty nice open world. And what I also love in that game is the return of bureaus, because Assassin bureaus, we actually only really had them in the very first Assassin's Creed from all the way back in 2007. So this is the first time the bureaus are ever returning, but I think they're actually much better than they were in the first Assassin's Creed, because the first Assassin's Creed, they just felt more like a checkpoint place, but even though they were technically a place where you were learning more about your target. But here, they feel like a genuine places that are kind of important to the overall story. Now that I talked about those bureaus, and considering the game is the first time the game takes place in the Middle East ever since the very first game, I actually think Assassin's Creed Mirage feels very much what the very first game should be, and probably would be, if they had a far bigger budget and better technology and more creative ideas. Because the very first Assassin's Creed game, while by no means a bad game, it was very repetitive and very much suffered from constantly doing the same thing, just finding information and assassinating targets. And I actually think it's kind of a good thing, because Assassin's Creed Mirage is basically everything the first game has done, but much better. In some ways, you can call this game a much improved version of the very first game. The gameplay is good. It's not the best Assassin's Creed gameplay, but I like it. I do enjoy the combat system here. It can be problematic here and there, and it's not always very responsive, and sometimes controls can feel slightly clanky, but it was only a matter of time of getting used to it, for me at least. I still think Assassin's Creed Unity had the best combat, but I liked one here too. It was kind of certainly more basic and slightly closer to one of Origins and Odyssey, although they did add stamina, something no other Assassin's Creed game in the past had, either old school or the RPG ones. And I'm glad they tried to use some elements of the old school games, although the stamina system did certainly make the combat feel harder, and who knows, maybe they took inspiration from software games, considering how popular they are now. I really also like that the counter system has returned, although it's not as easy as it was in the Ezio games or in Black Flag. It is more like in Unity. And the assassination of targets very much gave me vibes of old school games. The game also puts more emphasis on stealth, like Unity, and also like in the previous old school Assassin's Creed games, when you dive inside the water and stay there for a time, the enemies basically just like walk away and can't find you. And although I always wondered the logic of it, like, can they just see you that you are there under the water, or didn't they just see that you jumped in? Well, whatever, that's something in video games. Sometimes you have to have this suspension of disbelief. And I still think Unity was best when it came to balance between stealth and fighting, but this game did it okay too. And I'm glad that although you learn skills and upgrade yourself, sort of, it is not very crucial here, like it was in the RPG games. Here, if you decided to assassinate a very strong enemy, that enemy will be instantly dead in the classic old Assassin's Creed fashion. That said, if that enemy does see you, well, then you have to fight him. And since this is meant to be in the classic Assassin's Creed style, hiding and blending to eavesdrop returns here. It's not like that if the target catches you, you lose. This time though, instead you fail the mission and you are told to wait till the next day. A really cool thing that this game has done is that it combined elements from both old school games, but it certainly did use some elements from the RPG games as well. Because in the old school Assassin's Creed games, as a way to find your target or whatever you're looking for, you had to use an eagle vision. And the eagle vision is returned in this game. That said, in the RPG games like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, they switch the eagle vision to an actual eagle flying above the area and help you find the thing you're looking for. But this game has both, because you both can use an eagle vision, but there still is a flying eagle that can fly above the area and can help you find the thing you're looking for. Which means that now you can use both your eagle vision, but also have an actual flying eagle. And I think this is a really cool way to use elements from both old school Assassin's Creed games and the RPG Assassin's Creed games. And in a typical Assassin's Creed fashion, climbing up buildings returns, and it's lots of fun here. In terms of climbing, I don't know, this is possibly actually one of the best Assassin's Creed games, at least when it comes to climbing up tall buildings. And I really love climbing all the high points and then synchronizing and seeing the area below. And of course, the leap of faith has returned, and I think it was the more epic than ever, because leap of faith has always been one of my favorite things to do in Assassin's Creed games. So when it comes at the very least to the leap of faith, I think this game might have done it in the best way. Overall, Assassin's Creed Mirage is a very good game. I really like the city of Baghdad, and I do think Basim is a okay protagonist, if not, but he isn't one of the best ones, but he's still pretty cool, and the story is interesting enough to keep me engaged, although not one of the best Assassin's Creed stories. Overall, Assassin's Creed Mirage is a very good game. It's nostalgic and I like how it goes back to franchise roots. But that said, will I be replaying it anytime soon? Probably not, because if I wanted a good old Assassin's Creed game, I can just play Ezio Trilogy again or my personal favorite, Assassin's Creed Unity. Assassin's Creed Mirage was most certainly a very nice return to franchise roots, and I had a blast playing it and it felt very nostalgic. But ultimately, when it comes to replay value, I have a much better Assassin's Creed titles to try. And if I did the ranking of all the Assassin's Creed games, where would Mirage rank? I think my ranking goes Assassin's Creed Unity, Ezio Trilogy, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Origins, and yeah, number 6, I think Mirage would be somewhere number 6 after Origins. And very good game, but at the same time, if I wanted to play a old school Assassin's Creed game, I could just pick Ezio Trilogy, Unity, or Black Flag. Yeah, and do I recommend this game to old school Assassin's Creed fans? Absolutely. If you're craving for a old school Assassin's Creed game in the old time, then yes, this is certainly a game for you. If you just want something truly innovative, if you want like Assassin's Creed to do something unique, innovative, and then yeah, then I don't recommend this game. And if you are one of those people that's completely has a Assassin's Creed franchise fatigue, then no, I don't recommend this game either. I think this game is very much for like Assassin's Creed fanboys, which I kind of am. But if I'm being honest with myself, I kind of am an Assassin's Creed fanboy. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Mirage is a perfect game for Assassin's Creed fanboys or those who crave for an old school Assassin's Creed game. Other than that, if you just want a truly unique, masterful game and were never a fan of Assassin's Creed franchise, then no, Mirage is most certainly not for you. As I said, this is very much a game for either strict Assassin's Creed fanboys like me, or just those who crave for an old school Assassin's Creed game. So here is my honest review on Mirage. Very good game, but I won't be revisiting it anytime soon because I have better Assassin's Creed games if I want one. So these are my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Mirage. Did you play Assassin's Creed Mirage? Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye!